welcome back. All right, we're here. We've done the sketching. We've looked at the prompts. We've done the sketching. We've done some stitching and really thought through. And hopefully you've really taken several days in this process and you've not tried to do these things back to back. The time, I cannot undervalue how important it is to really provide some time for yourself and some space between these processes to really let some things sit. But now we're to the journaling part. What does that look like? What types of journals can you use? I mean, really, nearly anything. Highly like it's better if you do have like a book that you use, notebook paper, but it really could just be printer paper that you kind of take off, or stationery that you have. You don't have to write a lot. Again, this whole process is intended for you to find your own way into it. Some of you may write for 3 pages. Some of you may write more. Some of you may just find like a little paragraph, and that's all the time that you have. It's okay. You can still engage with all steps of this. We're going to find our way into that. And sometimes you might just have more time or more to say based on the prompt. And again, you could try just going right into the prompt as a little experiment without going through the sketch and the stitch part, and try it 2 different ways. And I think that you'll find that when you go through the sketch stitch journal process, you really will have more to say in your journal, and the quality of it, I think, will just be deeper, richer, have more to it because of the time and space that you've taken to engage with the prompts in the process. All right, I want to show you the process of, now that we've done the sketch and the stitch part, what does it look like to journal? Well, at the beginning I showed you what my workbook was going to look like, and I'll just kind of walk you through the process. So we have our sketches, we've taken some time to stitch and think through, and then we're really just going to select. I'm generally going to have 4 to 5 prompts, and I already selected what I was going to write to. Sometimes I'll write to all of them, but I chose these 2 questions for first light. How do your current morning habits serve or hinder you? What small ritual could you create in order to honor the beginning of your day? And so I wrote all of this, and I didn't do 2 full pages, but that's totally okay. I could have just done 1 page, so it depends on what you have to say. Then the second part of the process is to silently read the entire journal entry to yourself in your head, all the way through. Then after that, it's optional, but I really find value in reading it out loud. I can hear the tone of my voice. Sometimes it's different even than if I'm listening to my voice in my head. I don't know, I can't explain it. It's optional, but I highly recommend it, I will say. And then after you get through that reading, then you're going to skim and scan, and you can circle as many words as you think are significant, things that pop up to you, make connections that you're making all along the way. And then finally, at the very end, you're going to look at all of the words that you have circled, and you're just going to select 5 to 8. And so for me in First Light, as I was reading all the way through, things that came up to me were time, and then process, balance, reinforcing, letting it out, boundaries, and protecting. Originally, I was going to just write a sentence response, and maybe I will in future ones, but what I decided to do was copy all of those words. So you're going to get a preview into some of the other ones that I've already started in advance, and I'm about to do week 4. So here I have all the words that I've copied down, and then I have a sentence here. So I didn't want to have to copy back over, so I decided I would just use this page, since I'm looking for patterns and things, to just write that down. So I wrote, the positive habits I have allow me to have time to myself to process or let out things from my cluttered mind. Because these are positive, they are reinforcing and promote a sense of balance or protecting. So that's what I got out of the whole week's process. what's happening for me, the things that I have been able to have, again, this is years of practice. I now have older kids. I have some time in the morning. I don't have to drive any kids to school because my husband does that now, given it the time of the school start. So I was really validating for some of the things. I feel like it's a positive start. And I have a cluttered mind and I need to let some things out. And I can do that in some of my morning routine. And because I can see they're positive, it's reinforcing and keeping them going because I recognize I need a sense of balance. And that balance that I have now found is worth protecting. And so all that week's process kind of coming down to that, I wouldn't have done that if I would have sat down and written, I don't think, to these prompts. It really was helpful to first envision, and I know I don't think that you can see the pencils are probably, the lines are probably pretty light, but, and I've kind of described these in other videos, but coffee, listening to podcasts, my walks, going into the outdoors, reading, my hobbies and knitting, all of these things, it's nice to just see them. I really say I'm really liking having the drawing part and all of that on the same next to my writing. I really think it's very impactful, and I hadn't really thought about how that would be before I got into it. I know that this practice by itself is important, but then really setting through, I think that that helped me prepare for what I was going to write. Now, there are lots of things that I wrote that I had no idea were going to come out of me until I write them down. And that's how I'm doing in my journal. I don't want you to feel like you have to, like this is such a linear process. When you get to the page and you get to the writing, a lot of things are influencing what we're going to say, whether how we woke up, what's already happened to us in our day. It's hard to tell. But a lot of things, are influencing that too from the practice of thinking about it and first conceptualizing it in our sketching and pictures and so on. So that's what we're working towards. This has been a series of videos unpacking each of the steps. And in future videos, I'm going to introduce the prompt and walk you through my process all the way through. And we're going to learn a lot together. This is a series of 6. And then after that, I'm going to focus specifically on midlife, even though a lot of these elements um, are universal, but also reflect in midlife too. So thank you again for working with me on this first process. I hope that you've tried these already and look forward to having some comments and hearing what you're learning from yourself now or in future prompts.